Hi, I am the smuggler, and I'm sure you're very confused with what's going on right now. And that's okay. So in this video, I am going to explain why this box is the coolest thing in the world for me right now. Oddly specific, I know, but we'll get into it. You might be thinking there's something different about this video, and you would be correct in thinking so, because this video is actually being recorded onto tapes that look like this. These little boxes are actually tiny VHS tapes, and they end up going into bigger VHS tapes. Fascinating, I know. So, I'm going to be taking one of those boxes, putting it in one of these boxes, and then throwing it in one of those boxes over there, and then using another box to record it. And that is how this video is going to end up on YouTube. But before we get to that, I need to show you the wonders of PVRs and early TV tuners inside of the world of Windows Vista. Let's go! So, what is this box that's sitting on my desk? Well, this is a GVMC Windows Vista TV tuner card. What this essentially allows you to do is turn Windows Media Center into a fully fledged analog television. So, in the times before video on demand, if you wanted to watch something, you would need to record it onto a VCR. And VCRs had scheduling and programming set up so that the VCR would automatically turn on and start recording specific channels at dates, as long as you specified and set it up in advance. And this was how we engaged with live TV broadcasts for a very long time, a good 40 or 50 years. What this box essentially allows us to do is turn Windows Media Center into a live TV program video recorder, or PVR. But in order to get this working, we first need to have a Japanese copy of Windows Vista. So I found and installed a Japanese copy of Windows Vista on a period-appropriate Toshiba satellite laptop. Needless to say, this was a pain in the ass. I had forgotten that installing an OS used to be a day-long adventure, a task that one had to undertake. Honestly, it's incredible that Windows was able to stay in business after making this operating system, but that's a discussion for another time. In order to make my life a little easier, I managed to find a English language pack for Windows Vista and get it to install so that at least most of the interface is in a language I can actually understand. Thankfully, the documentation for this tuner card was actually quite comprehensive, so although I did have to Google Translate it, it didn't leave a lot of room for guesswork, so even an anime boomer such as myself was able to get it working. So we have the coaxial coming into the top, and that's our input from our VCR, and at the bottom we have a USB 2 connection. That's going into the computer to interface with Windows Media Center. Once the drivers are installed and the appropriate setup is done inside of Windows Media Center, everything just works, which for something on Windows Vista is honestly incredible. So what's going on here is that we have the RF signal coming in from the coax, and that is being displayed live in Windows Media Player. Right now I have Windows Media Player tuned in to channel 3. And as soon as I turn the VCR on, as long as it is on that same channel, Windows Media Player will be able to display the VCR output. And with this, we have our VCR just playing on channel 3 inside of Windows Media Center on Windows Vista. Like, am I the only one? Am I the only one that thinks this is incredible? Am I just that far gone? Fuck, this just... When I found out that I could do this, it broke me. I couldn't not do this. This is just, God. Okay, anyways. So, the coolest thing about this, I think, in my humble and correct opinion, is that as long as the program is open and we're watching live TV or, playing off of the VCR, we can press pause on Windows Media Center and it will start recording the video to a playback buffer, at which point, as long as Windows still has space inside of the buffer, we can resume playback, or fast forward, or rewind, or skip commercials. We can do whatever we want with this. This is honestly bonkers that they were able to do this back in the day, and I can't believe it's not butter. But wait, there's more. So, at the push of a button, you can bring up a record interface. and it gives you the option to schedule your recordings inside of Windows Media Center. So if we set a recording for next week, or if we wanted to record every day at the same time, we simply go in, we set the date, we set the frequency and the time, and as long as it's open, it will just automatically start recording whatever channel you want at that time. And that blows my mind. I don't know why. I honestly, I'm just weird, okay? And what I really love about this is just how easy it is to navigate this interface. All we have to do is set the date, the time, and the frequency, and suddenly we've just automated our TV recordings, and we never have to worry about it again. Going back and viewing those recordings is also incredibly easy. We simply back out to the main menu, go over to recorded TV, and then we can see all of the broadcasts that we've recorded over the current time period. And it will automatically throw out those files once we run out of storage space. So if we don't want to end up with hundreds of gigabytes of morning news broadcasts or whatever, it'll just automatically start throwing out the oldest ones once the hard drive is full. You can also set it to not do that, but then you end up getting stuck with manually deleting your files after the fact, and for people at the time that would have been quite inconvenient. Now, you would think this is where it would all kind of stop. Like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Like, yeah, you can turn your Windows Vista into a PVR. It's like, okay, no, just wait. Now, while all this is cool and good, the coolest thing about this device, in my opinion, is that it differs from a conventional capture card because it's actually just an RF tuner. But that's kind of difficult to demonstrate or explain. The way that a lot of people conceptualize radio frequencies is kind of wrong. Like, basically, every radio frequency is always going through everything all the time. And when you push the button on your radio in your car, you're simply picking which frequency to listen to. But that doesn't stop the other frequencies from coming in, it's just that you're focusing on one in particular. And that's what this device is doing. So I can't really demonstrate that, which is what I would say if I didn't have an HDMI composite RF modulator. This allows me to take a HDMI or a composite connection and basically transcribe it into a radio frequency that can then be picked up by a tuner card like this. And when I change the channel on the RF modulator, what I'm actually doing is I'm changing the radio frequency at which the modulator is modulating, right? Like, duh. This allows me to pick the channel. So I have my VCR and one of my cameras, one of my other camcorders, going into my Sony mixer, and I have the output from the Sony mixer going into the RF modulator. And when I change the channel on the modulator, Windows Media Center loses the signal. So if I change the channel on Windows Media Center, voila, we got our video back. So back in the day, if I wanted to tune in to a channel, all I would really need to do would just be to go on Windows Media Center and just, push channel 54, and then it would just start listening to that frequency. And honestly, that's like super cool. So what I've essentially done in my bedroom is make a very simple television broadcast system. So if I had this RF modulator hooked up to an amplifier and an antenna, I would be able to take this Vista tuner card across the city and tune in to my own anime television station, forgetting the legal issues with that specifically. But the fact that I can do it is still pretty cool. And that's kind of what we're looking at here. So what this basically allows me to do is tune in to Smuggler TV, where I have my camcorder and my VCR set up on transitions, and I could just make my own TV broadcasts and record that onto my Windows Vista laptop. And that is a sentence that I just said. Holy shit. Anyways, without beating a dead horse too much, this whole thing is super cool. The only issue that I've found so far is that it seems to be the best way to get the video files out of this computer is by burning a DVD of them. And then taking that DVD and then ripping it into another computer, which is actually how I ended up making this video. This video was recorded onto a tape, which was then fed into that tuner card from a VCR, and then burned onto a DVD. The DVD was then taken over to my main computer. I then exported the file from the DVD, re-encoded it, threw it into Sony Vegas, and now I'm editing around and recording and dubbing over it after the fact. So yeah, that's basically it. That's all I really have to say about this stuff. I don't know if anybody else thinks this is as neat as I do. I'm not gonna ramble too long here, but yeah, I'll just send it back to the me from a few hours ago, and we'll wrap this video up. Well, I've gotten to the point where I have like over a couple hundred VHS tapes, and having to capture and encode those is quite the daunting prospect, especially when a lot of these tapes have existing releases or they're, widely available in Blu-ray or DVD. I just really want to get the footage off of the tape. At this point, the quality is less of a factor. I more want to save the English audio from a lot of these tapes because they had specific, English dub idiosyncrasies which never got brought into Japanese Blu-ray or DVD releases. So for this, that is incredible, because what I can do is I can, in real time, record performant video, which will just work and is very lightweight. I can fit my entire VHS collection into a few hundred gigabytes, compared to capturing RAW, where I would be looking at a few hundred terabytes. And these cards allow me to do that almost in real time. In real time. And since I have two of them, I can run two computers concurrently on schedules and just do this on the weekends in my free time. Whenever I'm just sitting around, I can pop a tape in, I can press record, and it just works. And I can take that off using a USB stick into my main computer, and if I want to get really sweaty with the encoding after the fact, I can still do that. But this just kind of gets rid of a lot of the initial busy work. Not ideal, because the footage is coming into the computer compressed, but still better than, me procrastinating and not doing anything in the first place. So, yeah, and that is why this box is the coolest thing to me right now. In any case, this camera's about to run out of tape, so I'm actually going to have to stop the video here. I was going to ramble on a bit more, but you kind of get the idea. In any case, don't forget to ring-a-ding that subscribe bell, and until next time, this was